With the Premier League season just around the corner, Manchester United fans will be hoping to see more signings to build on the success under Michael Carrick. But what's the latest? We're joined by Sky Sports United correspondent Danyal Khan to find out more. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, very good, Jordan. Season is really starting, it feels like, with a few weeks to go until, especially Manchester United's first game away to Hull. So that buzz is already here, already in and around the team a little bit. You know, I have a few interviews in the next few weeks to do with some of the players. So looking forward to seeing especially what the mood is like around Manchester United and Michael Carrick's team.
I think the mood's positive. I mean, United have played well in pre-season. Maybe the fans want to see one or two more signings. Can you tell us the latest on that?
Yeah, look, after Manchester United ended last season on such a positive, when you look at that 6 months in charge for Michael Carrick, beating so many huge teams in the league, there was a lot of optimism going into the off season. And I don't think what really helped with that was with a club like Manchester United being linked to, for example, in midfield, some of the biggest midfielders in the Premier League, the likes of your Elliot Andersons, who in true reality, Manchester United were never going to be in that race. Once Manchester City bid, around 100 million plus, to start the negotiations, Manchester United were out of that race. They're trying to build a squad, not just of quality, but of depth as well. Now they're back in the Champions League. And to me, the most important thing for this United team is to sustain Champions League involvement following, back-to-back seasons. So, look, I think to answer your question in short, they are still looking potentially at a midfielder and or a left back. And I think that's what we'll see most likely in the closing weeks of the window.
Yeah, a midfielder and a left back are the two that United fans have probably heard most about over the summer, especially even more now with the concerns over Mason Mount's fitness. Where are they at with those two positions?
Look, Manchester United did sign two midfielders. Yes, Casemiro and Manuel Ugarte. Casemiro left in the summer. Manuel Ugarte looked like he was going to go through the exit door. Unfortunately, suffered an injury in the World Cup in the summer. But they do have Yuri Tillmans now, Andre Santos, Kobbie Mainoo as three options just there. And then you also have someone like Mason Mount, as you mentioned, who, look, I think he'll be fine. He looked like after the game, walking back to the team bus, absolutely fine. Michael Carrick said it was precautionary. And of course, they will be because of his injury record in the last few years. So he is definitely a viable option in midfield. They're also looking at the teenager, Louis Page at Leicester City, 18 years old, who, look, actually, as that potential third midfielder, I don't think is a terrible option, someone who can come in and out, especially in the cup games, because that's what you're looking at, really, someone to come in and have some of those minutes. That might be the right profile of that third midfield signing of the summer. But look, I think left back behind Luke Shaw, I mean, we know his. First of all, to people talk about his injury record, amazing achievement for him to play 38 Premier League games last season. But just firmly at his age, he's not going to be able to play 3 games a week. That is not sustainable throughout the season. So they absolutely need a left back rather than relying on the versatility of Nusa, Mazraoui, Diogo Dalot. Look, I think Patrick Dorgu's long-term position, it's been suggested to me that that could be a left back, but I don't think that's quite going to be right away this season. So I think a left back is absolutely something they're looking at.
Obviously, it's no secret United are big fans of Lewis Hall, but it looks like he's one of those players out of their price range. Who are some of the cheaper alternatives United are looking at?
Yeah, I think Manchester United are in a bit of a, not tricky situation, but I think they have to make a decision. Do they look for, a not short-term fix, but short to medium fix, a left back, someone who can do a job over 2, 3 seasons, rather than, what Lewis Hall represents is you spend big money, but he can be a left back for potentially 8 to 10 years, right? If that move is successful, a bit like Luke Shaw, despite his injury record, but when they signed him from Southampton, that was the vision, right? So I think Manchester United are trying to decide whether they look for that type of profile. I think regardless of age and how long-term of a fix it is, I think they want an attacking left back, almost someone that is somewhat like a winger who shares similar traits and qualities. Anthony Robinson is someone I know is on their list, for example, but he's a different profile in terms of age, might be a slightly cheaper option, but he also suffered with injuries sporadically last season. So I think they're still deciding. They're going to see how the market evolves over the next few weeks and then make their decision. But at this moment in time, it doesn't seem like Manchester United are in too much of a rush.
Look, we have to ask you about Marcus Rashford. He's obviously back with the squad now, a new number. How do you see that one playing out? Because he obviously does give United a strong attacking option.
Talking about Marcus Rashford, I mean, this isn't going to be the last time we speak about him, Jordan. I think he's going to essentially be the talking point up until deadline day, just because it's such a unique situation. Great player, of course, in terms of what he can offer offensively. 87 goals for Manchester United in the Premier League. You know, when you look at all time, I think he's 10 away from breaking into the top 10 of Manchester United's history. So he's someone who can score goals. The only thing I would say is I just don't think we've seen it, over a sustained period of time often enough outside of that 6 months after the World Cup in 2022. So look, for Marcus Rashford, he can't hope to have a better coach than Michael Carrick, someone who knows him as a player and as a coach, having been part of Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's coaching staffs. But the question is, can Marcus Rashford, do it on a sustained basis?